Unfortunately, I would say there is an attitude of expected sexual assault at college parties, just because that has been the precedent in history with hundreds and thousands of rape and sexual assault cases on college campuses. It's kind of expected that every college will have to face those issues. And unfortunately, that's just the way our university and college system is set up in the United States.
I would say that there is a little bit of an attitude, especially at parties, especially with all the alcohol that goes around, and the fact that the only really readily available parties on campus are frat parties, and so there's kind of a masculine macho attitude there.
So many sexual assault cases go unreported each year because of the shame that is associated with them. So when reporting a case, oftentimes we hear about girls who are asked demeaning questions by the police that are handling the case, or the case is often brushed off by the university, which just creates shame, like this was your fault that this happened, you were dressed a certain way, you were at a certain party, and it puts a lot of blame on the victim rather than the offender. So girls just often keep it to themselves because saying like this is something that happened to me and admitting to that makes them a statistic.
I think that a lot of cases go unreported because there's a lot of guilt and shame around it, and a lot of people don't want to have any repercussions put on them, or have people assume that it was their fault, and also just being afraid to reach out to people, and being afraid of consequences on them.
If I saw sexual assault at a party and it was my friend, I would intervene and probably pull my friend away and leave the party immediately. But if it was a girl I didn't know, I wouldn't do anything. And I know that sounds terrible, and I sound like a terrible person, but if I'm being honest, it would be uncomfortable and awkward to intervene because I don't know if it's actually sexual assault, and if it's something she really wants, then I'm just creating a bigger problem. Also, I don't feel like I have a lot of power at these parties, just because the parties take place at frats versus if the party was at a sorority, the power would be put in the place of the girls since it's a girl's house. But all of a sudden I'm in someone else's house and I'm stepping into what looks like a problem, something I really don't belong in at all.
I'd like to think if I was at a party and I saw sexual assault happen, I would stop it, but I feel like a lot of times it's hard to see it happen because a lot of times the way it happens is in a very private setting, so it's really hard to find it, which is a lot of, I think, why people believe it doesn't happen as much as it does, because it's not out in the open and it's not shown, it's not like something that people see, and so it's hard to stop.
When I think about how sexual assault on college campuses could be prevented, it's a really hard question to answer, just because now it seems like sexual assault is just inevitable. It's going to happen regardless of what you do to try to stop it. But I think the root of the problem comes back to rape culture and how boys are raised these days. For example, Mr. Trump has said some things that are very vulgar, and he is being tried for sexual assault on women. And this creates a standard that the leader of our country is doing something that's okay, therefore it's okay for me to do these things. And that's not okay. And that standard is what creates issues down the line, or the way we raise young boys to just go up and kiss a girl randomly. That is considered sexual assault because she is not able to consent to that kiss. That while it might seem romantic in idea, but by instilling that idea in a young child, it's creating this culture of sexual assault.
I've recently seen a lot of news stories about shutting down frats and shutting down parties and shutting down alcohol, and or not letting women into frats after certain hours, and I feel like that's very much stopping the symptom of sexual assault and not stopping the actual problem, which is something that we need to start teaching as like a societal thing, and very like starting at the root of the problem instead of trying to get rid of what we think makes it more prevalent. And a lot of the things that are done to stop sexual assaults very much blame the victim. So stopping drinking, stopping parties, not letting women into frats. And if you really want to stop it, you really have to like look at the root of the problem, which is difficult, but something that has to be done, I think.
Don't demand details I'm uncomfortable sharing and don't want to relive.
Understand it might take me time.
Don't ask what I was wearing.
If I want to share, reassure me that you'll support me and believe me.
Ask if you can help or do anything for me.